Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. You beautiful, beautiful, amazing, wonderful people. You're looking absolutely amazing today, despite this being somewhat of a, how can we put it, shit week. Been a bit of a shit week, ain't it? And all we can hope is that the weekend is better and next week is better. Who knows, though? Generally, we go into it with all the goodwill in the world, and then someone comes along and fucks it all up for us. But anyway, what we're talking about in this video, earlier on, we spoke again quite bluntly about Charlie Kirk and that situation, which I know it's pissing people off that I'm continuing to cover that, but I don't care. I'm going to continue covering it while it's ongoing, and I don't care. I just don't care. If you've got a problem with it, fuck off. That's where I am with that. But in this video, we are talking about the Idaho 4 case again, because there's two documents that come out, and we're going to quickly look at them and then just give my opinion. Now, this was a motion to seal defendant supplemental response to the court's order regarding sealed documents. So we're back basically to sealing documents. Now, they've obviously quoted some of the reasonings behind the motion to seal, and I don't know whether this is again just kind of boilerplate stuff, but ultimately the only one that really stands out is that it's again relevant to the right to a fair trial, which at this stage I find that this is almost like closing the stable doors after the horse is bolted. Why would you be handing in a motion to seal defendant's supplemental response to the court's order regarding sealed documents in a situation where the defendant has pled guilty to the crimes and he is currently locked up in incarceration where he will never, ever get back out and see the light of day? It's not really anything that you can do to an individual that has already lost their right to be out in the public for the rest of their life. Or is that the case? And we'll speak on that in a second, because obviously following a motion to seal, we then have the order sealing defendant's supplemental response to the court's order regarding sealed documents. The court having before it the motion to seal defendant's supplemental response to the court's order regarding sealed documents, and good cause appearing now, therefore, it is hereby ordered defendant's supplemental response to the court's order regarding sealed documents shall be filed under seal. Now, the interesting thing here is that Stephen Hippler has agreed to it. He's literally agreed to it. This is a new doc, 10th of September. Obviously, it's just hit the docket, but he's agreed to it. Now, he doesn't have to agree to it. He could have turned around and said, well, in all fairness, I don't see the point in sealing it. We're now going through the documentation and we're literally releasing everything to the public. It's now about transparency. It's now about giving the public access to what they have a legal right to have access to. And what we're still seeing is things, even in the aftermath of the plea deal and sentencing, new documents being filed under fucking seal. And the judge is agreeing to it. So what can this mean? Now, this could mean that the defense are trying to hide things from the public that would make Bryan Kohberger look bad. But the argument is there, hold on, Bryan Kohberger literally did the one action that would make him look worse than any document would, and that is he pled guilty to the crimes. He literally stood there and agreed to take the hit, take the fall. Yes, I did it. Now, the interesting thing here is something that I've touched on briefly, others have touched on. What people fail to understand with that isn't so much proof that he did the crime. He's not offered any proof that he did the crime yet. And the evidence that have come out in the aftermath of the plea deal and sentencing has not offered any further proof that he did it. We're just going round and round and round in fucking circles. We're just recycling the same shit over and over and over again and just looking at it with different viewpoints, different, and that's all there is. And why is that? Because nothing new has come up. There's been nothing new that places Bryan Kohberger at the property. There's no evidence where you can look at it and say, well, that looks fucking bad, doesn't it? We don't have a picture of the knife sheath. We don't have further information surrounding or evidence of the Amazon knife purchase. We don't have anything that you look at and think, fuck, that'll look bad in court. He'd have been screwed. It'd have been screwed. That's beyond a reasonable doubt out the window, because there you have it. That is a slam dunk. And again, further evidence that that doesn't exist is the fact that we're sitting here where we are now. And that is that Bryan Kohberger took a plea deal and his counsel seems to have allowed him to do so. So again, you split off into two directions with that and think, why would you have done that? If you are his legal counsel and you think that you don't have all the evidence, the case seems weak and the prosecution doesn't seem to have a slam dunk case, which Ann Taylor should have known, then why would you let your client take this deal unless it was all their decision? Because they just got to the point where they feared that they were going to be found guilty and they would be found viable for execution and sentenced to death. Again, we've touched on it. I apologize for being repetitive, but you will be surprised the leverage that the fear of being executed can place upon someone. Again, as well, with their families, if their families are put in the crosshairs of some degree of danger, then again, that can put a degree of pressure on the individual to plead guilty. What I find interesting at this stage is really three things. The first thing being, we literally have seen no further evidence that would support Bryan Kohberger being guilty. Yes, we've seen some things that there is a lot of opinion on with these selfies and things like that. Ultimately, there is no context to them. We don't really know anything apart from what we're being told by media about the timing of them. And it's whether you trust media. It's whether you trust mainstream media. And I, for one, don't trust mainstream media. And we're at that stage now, which is sad that we just can't trust what we're being told. We just don't know. The stories around this case have changed so much that you don't know which one's accurate. You don't know, because you think to yourself, why are these stories consistently changed throughout this case? And it's made it a very, very difficult case to follow and see information and trust it. But what I do trust and I do know is that we have not been made privy to any additional information that would prove that Bryan Kohberger did this crime. We still have the same information that we had at the beginning of the case, and as more and more documents come out, they raise more and more issues. And on the documents themselves as well, let's not forget that we was told that there was 51 terabytes of information. 51 terabytes of evidence. And have we seen anywhere near 51 terabytes? We absolutely have not seen anywhere near that. We've seen such a fragment of that it's lunacy to me. And people will turn around and say, no, because the vast majority of that were videos and things like that. Well, it doesn't matter what it was. If it's there, then release it. Bring it out. Let us see it. Because video of ring camera footage and things like that is not going to make up 51 terabytes. My entire channel with, I don't know how many videos, over 2,000 videos. There probably isn't 5 terabytes there. There probably isn't even 5 terabytes, and that's 4K video and over 2,000 of them. So that just puts into context what we're waiting for. And when you look at documents like paper documents and that sort of thing, and photographs, you're talking about literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands, and we just aren't seeing it. But secondary to, like I say, the fact that we've just seen no more, we are still seeing evidence of new documents being filed and being filed under seal. And again, if you're at a point where this is done, this is over, he's pled guilty, he's gone to prison, he's never intending to come back out, then why bother with all this? What is the point? Ultimately, why do you need to seal anything? There is no reason that I can see, but I am coming from an unprofessional perspective outside of the US. So if you feel that even in Bryan Kohberger's position that there is valid reason in order to still seal new documents, then let me know. And finally, we're still in a situation where Ann Taylor has said nothing. She's literally made no public statement whatsoever. And I can't think of another case where the defense counsel of an accused person has failed to address the media in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. Nothing. Complete radio darkness. And we also have Cyray, which, in my opinion, and again, this comes from a place of support of Cyray. Cyray has still remained absolutely silent. Now, some people are saying that Cyray is still bound by a gag order. Now, I don't understand how Cyray can be bound by a gag order when you've got the likes of Cellbright and co. being able to go into media and say what they're saying and do what they're doing. Again, if this case is over and the information around Cyray has no relevance anymore, then why would Cyray still be bound by a gag order in a case that is done? I don't fully understand it, especially again when the other individuals, other witnesses around the cellular proportion of this case have so far shown to have carte blanche when it comes to where they can go and what they can say. Same with the likes of Othram and co. Cyray seems to be one of the only sort of important witnesses, if you like, that has not said anything. Now, if he's chose not to say anything, then my argument would be that is indicative of there is something rumbling in the background. But if he is being bound over and stopped from speaking and not allowed to speak, again, I have to ask the question as to why. Why would he not be able to say anything if there is no relevance, no importance, no danger, nothing that can happen in him speaking out? That to me just doesn't make sense. What this is more and more pointing towards is that Bryan Kohberger and Ann Taylor were running out of time. They were running out of time. They were heading very quickly towards a trial that Ann Taylor herself had said that she was unprepared for. She was unprepared for it. She weren't ready. And it was showing signs of bias, even within the judge himself. We all saw the judge literally call Cyray a conspiracy theorist instead of really looking into what was being accused, which was serious accusations. So when I think about this situation, you're left with, okay, so you're heading towards trial that you're unprepared for. There is a real danger that you go to trial, you are found guilty, you are then further found that you are going to be executed in the second proportion of trial, and you are then placed in a position, what do? Do you go and roll the dice and hope that you can go through the appeal process? I would argue that would have really put him in a stronger position, because ultimately he's not agreeing to anything. He is just going to trial and being found guilty, and then he has got a strong argument of ineffective counsel, especially when his counsel of themselves stated that they are not ready for trial. So that's where I struggle with that. But equally, this individual has to make that decision to go to trial and trust in that aftermath situation, the appeals process. So by a plea deal, you shut the clock down. The clock stops. There is no clock. There is no trial. So therefore, you remove that out of the equation. Time's gone. Time is now not important. So you then enter into an agreement, but that agreement is a legal document. It doesn't really mean anything in terms of, did he definitely do this crime? Did he do it? Did he? Well, he said he did, but he said he did because he had to say he did to avoid going to trial. He had no option. There was a document given to him that he literally had to tick off and sign off that was already structured. So if he wanted to avoid going to trial, avoid a potential death sentence, he had to agree to the terms inside that document. So it's a legal maneuver, not necessarily proof that he did the crime. It's just proof that he was willing to sign that document to avoid going to trial that could have potentially led to execution and then beyond. So that's where we are with it. So are we seeing the rumblings again because of the silence of certain people who I find are very important? When you factor in Bryan Kohberger himself had literally spoken about how his cellular information would be what would exonerate him. And Cy Ray just happens to be connected to that entire process, and he seems to be off grid. And then you've got documents being filed under seal still, and also on the other side of the fence, we have been presented with nothing except further speculation and twisting of things that, when you step back and look at, they just don't add to anything. I spoke about Dr. G yesterday, where he's saying that there's Korean knife on the on the board. Absolutely wrong. The cowl, what he was pointing at, is not the same cowl that reflects knife in Korean. He completely ignores the fact that Bryan Kohberger shared that space with an Asian-looking female who could have herself been fucking Korean. Who knows? And other things being said. And like I say, the selfies, the pictures that people are twisting, and we're seeing nothing. There is absolutely nothing. It's just this continuance of picking the bones of crap and trying to make these bones look as nefarious as they possibly can. But let me know where you are. Do you think there's rumblings of things coming out in the future? Do you think there are still things happening in the background and that is why we're seeing what we're seeing? Or do you think this is just a done deal and this has just become so habitual that people are just still filing things under seal because perhaps they got so used to filing things under seal that they just, it's now habit, like I say, habitual. It's just, it's muscle memory now. Love you all, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Mwah.